Hello, hello! Welcome to FCMobile Live. My name's Antoine. Welcome to the show. It's good to see everybody in chat here. Already chat was booming before we hopped on. How is everybody doing? It's good to see you all in the show. Just myself today. Tack isn't feeling too good, so I wasn't able to join, but we wish him all the best. Hope to see him in a future show. But for today, it's myself here on FCMobile Live. Excited to see you guys. I'm doing good. I'm excited that we're like a week out from launch. Can you believe that? Like September 26th, new game is going. FCMobile is launching, which by the way, it's just going to be an update on your phone, so you don't have to do anything. But it's exciting to think how quickly the summer, or I guess winter, wherever you are, has flown by, and we're almost at launch. So it's an exciting time. If you've played the beta, you know kind of what to expect. Some cool new features coming your way, at least on gameplay, at least on training. We'll have some info on new events. You've seen some of the deep dives come out as well. There's locker room. We had some visuals and audio. So overall, it's looking to be an exciting launch day with a lot of cool stuff coming out. And as part of this show, it's a little bit of a deep dive into a specific part of what's new, and that's gameplay. So we have gameplay coming up as our third little item there, with a special guest. Gameplay producer Timo is going to be coming on the show, walking us through all the details about gameplay. I'm really excited for this one. A lot of cool things in there. And I know if you played the beta, you got a little bit of a taste of it, but it kind of really peels back the layers to understand what's there. So really excited for that. Obviously got some news around regions. Before we get into those first 2 points, I know I've been seeing some questions in the community about launch day. So just wanted to reiterate, it's September 26th is when the update goes live to become FCMobile. We'll be releasing some more information on the exact time when we go into maintenance and when the new game will start up. So stay posted to our socials for the complete details if you want to be the first people into the game. I know I'll be there. I'll be jumping in right as we go live, but I know everyone in the stream will want to be there too. So stay posted. And with that, we'll also have some more information on some of the other deep dives coming out. I know training has been something that's come up, how that works, as well as a new tournament mode for a certain competition. I know some people have noticed pop up. So if you know what I'm talking about, those were going on today, but more info on what that looks like later this week or early next week as we head into launch. So excited for that. I'm also seeing a lot of people in chat mentioning about the Founders event. If you didn't notice, there were some new Founders players that went out, a 118 Mahrez, 117 Mitrovic, a 115 Adams. I know a lot of people are looking for the 120s. Unfortunately, those were not coming in there. But if you like some of those players that dropped in, there's a chance to get them. And I see someone asking, why is the stream so late? Well, we're switching it up. It's a bit of a different show. We have a guest coming on, so we have a little bit of a different time. But overall, if you are here in the show, I'm super glad you're able to join. And if you haven't been able to make the show, we're going to be posting the VOD on later, so you can watch that on Twitch or on YouTube. But before we get into that, and I know some people are going to be mentioning that, Antoine, why are you waffling? Let's get into the really exciting news. We're 5 minutes into this show. I've been waiting for weeks to tell the community about this, building up to this cool moment, and that is regions. So I know a lot of people have been asking, what is happening with the 7 regions in the game? Are we going back to 1 region? What is happening? So the big announcement, drum roll please, is that in FCMobile, we will be returning to 1 global region. So really excited. I know the core community has been asking about that for a long time. Dubs in the chat. I agree, Ruben. Dubs in the chat, 1 global region. Very exciting. So what does that mean? What does 1 global region mean for FCMobile? So that means that leagues, friends, friendlies, division rivals, leaderboards, and matchmaking will be all done in 1 global region. So that means you will be not separated from people in different regions or shards. It's all going to be 1 like we had it in previous seasons before, I guess, in 2021 and before. So I see a lot of dubs. It's very exciting. I know the community's been asking about that. And I wanted to go into a little bit of the details here. We will be having a deep dive on leagues about how do you set up a league, all the details. It's pretty much similar to previous seasons, but the big one is you can now have a league with anybody from around the world. So if you are in the UK and you want to add someone from Brazil, that can happen. You can be in the same league across the world. So I'm in Canada, I can be in a league with someone in Australia, or I can be in a league with someone in France. So that applies to leagues, that applies to adding people as friends. That means you can play VersaTac head-to-head friendlies against anyone in the world. Division rivals as well, you can matchmake against anybody around the world. And that also means that leaderboards will be fully global. So one leaderboard for division rivals VersaTac, one for division rivals head-to-head, and one for division rivals manager mode. And I see in the chat here saying, Jason, can't wait to finally 1v1 you again. If it's VersaTac, you're definitely going to beat me, but head-to-head, I think I got a good shot. But in any case, it's really exciting. I'm looking forward to playing some head-to-head again with a lot of you from around the world. And I know that this has been a big dub that we've been waiting to share with you guys, and it's a really exciting moment. And that is the same thing as well. Market is fully global as well. So just some little details here. We'll be having the article coming out, which will have a lot of FAQs in there. But matchmaking is just, you'll notice that you'll be able to match up with people around the world, but some of the ping limits might be a little different. So someone playing from the US against Brazil, that might be more feasible than, say, US to like Singapore, US to India. So we're obviously working on that to make sure that the head-to-head experience is still as good as ever. So I'm going to ask the chat here. I saw a lot of dubs, but I know you guys are all excited, and I know you guys can start planning your leagues accordingly. So if you had some friends from other parts of the world that you want to bring back into your leagues, this is going to be the moment to queue up those conversations and get started on recruiting your top league. So very exciting. I know it's a positive moment, and I'm really glad that we can announce it here on the show and share that with you guys. So that is great to hear. I'm seeing a lot of dubs in the chat here, which is awesome and really, really great to see. So that was kind of the big regions announcement. I know some people are saying, oh, is it going to be about one region? Well, it is. We got one global region, so that was the big news. But the other exciting news, and I want to get into that because that's going to be a big chunk of today's show, is gameplay. So if you've played the beta, you have already an idea of what the new gameplay looks like in FCMobile. It's a little bit slower, but it's a little more methodical. There's some new impact controls. There's some different kind of approach to shooting. A lot of really cool adjustments. And instead of having myself sit here and talk you through it, why not have one of the guys who's worked on it and brought it all to life? So I want to introduce here into the show, FCMobile Live. I want to introduce Timo, our gameplay producer. Welcome, Timo, to the show.
Hello, guys. Wow. I'm excited to finally be here on this show. It's an honor. Absolutely. Hello, Antoine.
Hello, Timo. It's good to have you on, and it's good to have you here to talk about gameplay.
Yeah, super excited, guys. So much to talk about today. And just so you know who I am, gameplay producer. I've been doing this for 1 decade. So I've been on this franchise for a decade doing gameplay. But I can honestly tell you guys, really, never been more excited than today because the team has been so hard at work, not just across the whole game, but especially gameplay. We put a lot of effort into this, like really taking our gameplay to the next level. Now, personally, I would describe it, our gameplay has matured over the last 12 months building this, and we built on a very strong foundation. And I'm sure you guys are going to be excited getting your hands on FCMobile next week. So I do want to take a moment here, and I'm not doing this because I'm on stream, but I truly mean it from the bottom of my heart and from the team. Thank you to this community for the constant feedback that we receive. And I want to tell you guys, we listen. We listen to that feedback. We read the forums and all the different channels where we receive gameplay feedback. So I'm sure a lot of that you'll see reflected in today's show in the features that I'm going to go through. But also, I just wanted to say sometimes gameplay can take a bit longer. So gameplay is complex. You change one thing over here, it breaks something somewhere else. It's like a ripple effect. So gameplay takes time to establish, to tune, to balance, to make sure it's ready. So We are listening, but some changes may take time. But I'm pretty sure you guys are going to be pretty excited and happy with what we've done. So yeah, big thank you to the community, and just excited to be on the show and tell you all about it.
Echoing that sentiment too. Big thank you to the community, the Discord channels, Reddit, wherever feedback's coming in. A lot of that gets to Timo and his team's hands, and it's reflected in the gameplay here. So without further ado, Timo, let's jump into what's new with gameplay in FC Mobile, starting with dynamic game speed. Tell us a little bit more about that, and we've got some cool clips as well to support.
Yes. So FC Mobile really stands for authenticity and realism, and that's manifested itself in a new ebb and flow of the gameplay. So what we wanted to do is a more composed, realistic, and mobile-friendly game speed. We know that sometimes in the current game, the game can feel quite fast, and you receive a pass instantly, a defender is pressuring you, so we wanted to give you more time on the ball, make decisions, read the play, and also diversify the build-up play that way. So giving you more space, more time, slowing things down a little bit, and just creating a new flow for this new era of our franchise. So dynamic game speed really breaks down into two areas, and the first one is pace. So let's roll over to the next clip. So on FC Mobile, you will see a much more tangible attribute effect for acceleration and sprint speed. And you can see this here in the sprint race, the guy on the top, ID number 1, you can see he's the fastest guy. So he has a really high acceleration and sprint speed attribute, and then a medium rated and a low rated player. So you can see these differences, and you'll feel it when you play the game. This also gives more personality to players. Now, I understand maybe there's a concern here right away in saying, hey, it's all about pace this year. But that's not really the case, because gameplay balance is the top priority always for us. So if we roll on to the next clip, you will actually see a sprint race between a dribbler and a defender. So what we didn't want is that the dribbler can just dribble away and defenders can't catch you. So the blue player has a head start, but the defender is catching him. Why? Because every time your dribbler takes a touch, he has to decelerate, right? Just like in real life. Imagine you're dribbling and you're sprinting down the sideline with the ball. Every single time you approach the ball, just a few seconds before, you have to slow down and then re-accelerate again. And this accelerate, re-accelerate allows the defender who's just in pure locomotion to catch you. So it's very important. Gameplay balance, top priority. So let's move on to the next clip. The second part for dynamic game speed is actually in dribbling. And this is very exciting, and here I'm gonna reflect the first kind of community request. We've heard you guys said, well, small players are just not that valuable. There's no significant difference. So we wanted to make sure that players like Messi feel super agile and fast. So we made some changes for dribbling. The first one is that agility attribute has a higher impact on the playback rate of the dribbler, so he can turn faster, but also player height. So the smaller your player, the faster he'll be able to turn while dribbling. And I think this video comparison side by side is very clear. Now, of course, the small player on the left, he has very high agility, very high dribbling, and is quite small. And the player on the right, he is kind of medium rated, but you can see clear differences in how fast and nimble the player is. So we really wanted to make sure that small players feel super agile, fast, responsive, and have a value and purpose in the game. And that's dynamic game speed.
Absolutely. It looks really, I guess, refined is a nice way to put it. And kind of, if you played the beta, you got a little bit of a feel to it. It takes some adjusting, but it is very rewarding when you can get yourself into those really nice positions. So yeah, take us through the next part, Timo. What you've been working on, what you're excited to tell us about, because I know community already, I'm seeing a lot of dubs in the chat, which is fantastic.
Yes, before I get into the next section though, I just wanted to say two things. First, thank you for the beta feedback, because based on that feedback, we did some more tuning and balancing, which was one of the main purposes of the beta, to kind of see what you guys think about it. So we believe that once you actually get into the game next week, the game will feel even more responsive and quicker in that sense, like more explosive in the first couple of steps, but still maintains our vision for a more composed gameplay. And the other thing is, it's also about attributes. So you've seen this a lot of like, hey, there's small players are faster, or more focus on acceleration attribute. And this is actually embodied in our true player personality. So what that means is we wanted to make sure that star players have distinct strengths and weaknesses. So let's make an example. Kevin De Bruyne, amazing passer. He can make that inch perfect, lofted through pass right into the runner's feet, right? No one else can do that. Or Haaland, he has that amazing finishing ability, like a clinical finisher. But for example, Virgil van Dijk, he will be just a force on defense, but he won't be good at shooting or finishing like Haaland. So we wanted to make sure that all these attributes in the game have a more distinct impact. Players have a specific role, which helps with team building and just being excited to get a certain player. And you'll feel that. So this is our true player personality. You'll hear a bit more about the show as well throughout the show. So players have just more distinct strengths and weaknesses, and stay true to their real life counterparts. So speaking of shooting, speaking of Haaland, perfect segue into our next big fundamental feature, which is elite shooting. So let's roll the first clip. So we know that in the current game, shooting is quite fun, quite accessible. You can almost score from anywhere with anyone, but we kind of lost two things. One is user skill. And for elite shooting on FCMobile, we really want to make sure we are rewarding great user skill, but also we wanted to make sure that shooting feels more realistic overall. So this is about like how we take shots and how successful you can be. So why is it called elite shooting? Well, because we're putting a lot more focus on users' input and the way he takes shots. So there's three areas that impact elite shooting. So let's roll on to the first clip. So the first one is your aim, your manual aim. So you can see this white line here in our debug. You can see this white line extended from the player. This actually represents your angle that you're aiming with the joystick. So if you have a great manual aim, as in this example, you can get the shot on target more often. And if you aim way outside, your chances of scoring will be decreased. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're aiming off to the goal, that you will always miss, but your chances will decrease, right? So we want to make sure that, hey, if you do a great job manually aiming, you will be rewarded. So that's important to us. So let's move on to the next clip. And I would say this is probably the most important one. This is shot context. So how you put your player into a position, right? Like in this example, you can see I'm beating the defender. I have great space, a great angle to the goal, and I'm basically putting my player in a good position to score. So we want to make sure that we reward you for putting your player in a good position. Now, if we roll on to the next clip, I'll show the opposite of that. So if you're attempting shots under difficult situations, you're less likely to be successful. So these are things like, moving away from the goal, taking volley shots, not even facing the goal, like doing a 180 degrees shot, or these kinds of things, defensive pressure. All these things will impact your ability to score. Now let's make an example. So let's roll on to the next clip. You're going to see back to back, kind of the same situation here. I'm taking a first time shot with my weak foot, and I'm going to miss. But then the second time, I'm actually taking an extra touch to then score. So those are the little things, but in real life, when you play football in real life, those are the difference makers, right? You take an extra touch, you compose your player, you set yourself up, and you're going to be more successful. And these are the things that will be the difference maker in really competitive play at the highest ranks of head-to-head. And that's what we wanted to do. We want to make the game still accessible, and we're still going to assist you in shooting, but those differences of when you take a shot and how, they'll be the difference maker. So let's move on to the next clip, because the next one is also very important. Let's talk about headers. Yes, we know about headers, and we try to improve it significantly with elite shooting. So as you can see, elite shooting also extends to headers. And what you see in particular in the situation here is if you apply defensive pressure to the attacker, you can kind of, force him to have more error on headers. So what we didn't want is that if you have great defenders and you do everything right, you pressure the guy, and the player still scores easily. That didn't feel fair. So you can now affect the accuracy of the attacker by putting pressure on him. And generally speaking, headers also follow the same laws of elite shooting. So, you know, the closer you are, the better your angle and so forth will increase your chances of scoring. So we wanted to make sure that you can still score from headers, of course, but in a more realistic and regular manner. Okay, let's move on to the next clip. Now we get into the visuals. So you can see here some beautiful shot animations because we have done a big animation refresh for shooting to complement elite shooting. Like this beautiful finesse shot animation, like the way the player bends his body here is so beautiful. So both the regular shot and the finesse shot seen a big, large animation refresh, as I said, to visually complement elite shooting. So it feels very satisfying to score. And then if we move on to the next clip, we've also improved our goal net physics because it's all part of the emotion of scoring, right? Like you score a goal and then the ball hits the back of the net and it feels and looks great. Well, for FCMobile, we have a deeper net impact when the ball kind of hits the back of the net. And also you can see here a more refined ripple effect that just looks great. Like it's amazing. And also we improved our replay cameras. So you're going to see these beautiful goals and net physics up close. And so with a more skill-based shooting system, new animations, better goal net physics, we really want to make sure that every time you score a goal in FCMobile, it feels rewarding and satisfying. And I believe for the guys who played the beta, you can attest to that. If you score a goal, it feels more satisfying than ever because it takes a little bit more effort, a little bit more skill, but you feel rewarded. And that's exactly the emotion we're aiming for. So this is elite shooting.
And even just to add to the goal net part is you can hear it too when you score in the beta. There's that little noise of hitting the back of the net, the ripple, which is so satisfying, especially when you hit a nice shot. And really excited about that. And just wanted to mention seeing what people are writing in the chat about crossing and how it is to score on crossing. And I know we set some time for a little bit later in the show to talk about balancing and fixes. So we're going to pause on that, but just know that we read what you guys are writing in the chat about crossing. We'll come back to it in a little bit. But on the topic of shooting and elite shooting and how satisfying it is to really score a nice goal, there's a new control coming into FCMobile under impact controls, and that is the power shot. And when we talk about satisfying goals, power shot is right up there, right, Timo? It feels good.
It's amazing. It's by far my favorite feature of this update, and so exciting. We're bringing the power shot to FCMobile. These are just such beautiful animations that really, you know, as a football fan, like personally in real life, I always play like forward or striker, and I'm not saying I look like that. I think I look like that. Probably not, but it feels so rewarding to score these power shots because they're the fastest and most powerful shot in the game, right? And when you really hit it right and you score, it's immensely satisfying, and it complements elite shooting. So regular shots are going to be a little bit slower compared to the current live game. So power shots are the fastest shot, so encouraging you to kind of take that shot from like outside the box and scoring amazing long shot goals. Now, of course, you can take it from inside the box, but it's kind of really a shot for medium to long range. So let's move on to the next clip. So because power shots are so powerful and fast, you can still see here that the animation length is actually longer, right? So in fact, a power shot has a 3 times longer shot animation than a regular shot. So what does this mean? This puts you at the risk of being tackled, as you just saw. So the risk versus reward mechanic of a power shot is simple. You get the best and most powerful shot in the game, but it takes longer. So you need to be careful when and how to use it. Like in this example, I'm dribbling, the defender's very close, probably shouldn't have used a power shot. So use it with a caution, and when you have a bit of space, bit of time, then you can use it. Now let's move on to the next clip. Let's talk about other things, how we balance the power shot. So power shots follow the same principles of elite shooting. So attempting shots from a good context, right? And a good angle to goal. And having good aim also helps, absolutely. And the other thing is power management. Yeah. So this means if you attempt a power shot with like a 30 to 50% power, this is the ideal sweet spot for a power shot. But if you attempt a power shot from a much higher power, so like, you know, when your power bar goes orange or red, most likely you're going to miss. However, which brings me to my third aspect of power shooting, attributes also play a big role here. Again, true player personality, meaning if you have a great and high rated player, he'll still be able to keep the power shots down in like higher power ranges, but we generally suggest try to keep the power shot between 30 to 50% to see the highest success rate. And that's the power shot, guys. Now, in terms of controls, I haven't mentioned that. That's pressing the shoot button and swipe right. And also for gestures,
that's a fun one.
There's a gesture control. And for gestures, we call it internally, we call it the slingshot. So you swipe back and forth in one motion towards the goal for the gesture control. So you can do it both with buttons and gestures.
It is very satisfying when you hit a nice slingshot. I know I did a few of those in the beta. And when you get into space and you really notice that, like, okay, I'm with my midfielder and I've got open space, I can just launch a long shot with power shot and you get the right amount of power and you see it go top corner. It is probably the most satisfying goal I've scored in any mobile game. So very excited about that. And it kind of segues a little bit into our next topic when we talk about space, creating space, going into space with the ball. That's what the knock-on impact control is about. It's about utilizing that space, Timo, right? And getting yourself into dangerous positions.
That's correct. And, you know, the power shot just complemented elite shooting. Well, the knock-on complements our dynamic game speed. So this is a very traditional control, and we never really had it on mobile before. So I'm excited to bring it, and it was the perfect time to introduce it. So the knock-on allows you, obviously, to extract that full potential of your player's acceleration attribute while dribbling. And it allows you just to break away from defenders, create space wherever, like if you get a through pass into space and you want to break away, you just want to push the ball forward. Like you play like Mbappe, you know, like just having that explosive touch, then you can do that now. So if we roll to the next clip, the best way you can do it, like as I just said, you get a pass into space and you just want to break away from that defender and you can push with the knock-on just to create that extra bit of space. Now you can do that. Also, if we roll to the next clip, you're going to see my preferred way of using the knock-on, which is a setup touch into a shot. So you can do a knock-on and then key up a shot. And I tell you what, the best combo is knock-on to power shot. Now that looks really good. So I highly recommend trying it. And as you can see, I kind of parallel to the box, knock-on into the shot. Very, very satisfying. Yeah, and I think one more video we have that shows you the way we can use the knock-on is just beating one-on-one a defender. You're facing him head-on, and you can just try to kind of beat him with a quick knock-on. Now, we should note here the controls of the knock-on. For the people that played the beta, they know this already, but knock-on is a team skill move. And we did this because we tried many different prototypes throughout production, and some of them felt really good, like double tapping sprint or things like that, but they conflicted too much with other existing controls. So putting it as a team skill moves felt good, but also allows you, the user, to customize whichever way you like. So you can, by default, by the way, the knock-on is swiping down from the sprint and skill button, but you can customize it any of the 4 directions you like. And also, we added the hard stop, which is the exact opposite of a knock-on. It allows you to do a sudden stop. So now with hard stop, knock-on, dynamic game speed, you can control the player's speed like never before and just, again, diversify the way you build up, the way you take on one-on-ones and open up the game. And I'm excited, really excited to finally have it on mobile. So that's the knock-on.
Same, and it's really fun when you get into space with a fast player like a Vinny or an Mbappe, as you mentioned. But we talk all the time here about the shooting, dribbling, kind of more attacking focused controls and improvements. But you can't forget about the defensive side of the ball, and that's why there's hard tackle, which is the third of the impact controls coming. Timo, tell us a little bit about how this balances both sides of the field.
Yes, absolutely, Antoine. And it's always important to extend and expand, I should say, our defensive controls. We add so many cool things on offense, but hey, let's not forget about defending. And the hard tackle not only is a great way to defend in general, but it's also a great countermeasure to power shots, right? So you can see a hard tackle is basically a far lunging, more powerful version of a stand tackle. And it's perfect for blocking shots or taking out a player. In fact, we've added tons of new fall animations. So what I like to do is just crush a defender, and then the opponent player just falls over with a cool new fall animation. Very satisfying. So let's move on to the next clip, actually. You can see here that this is perfectly used. You can contain a player and then kind of lunge forward. You're covering a lot of space. And in fact, high-rated players like Virgil van Dijk will have even more powerful and faster, far-reaching hard tackles, and they can come in with so much force, taking out the player, and it's really satisfying. But just like Power Shot, just be mindful and careful when to use it, right? Because you are committing to a long animation. So it takes maybe a little bit of practice, but trust me, once you start knocking down people with the first couple of hard tackles, you're gonna love it. So let's move on to the next clip, which is also showing another way you can utilize the hard tackle, which is blocks. Whether that's a cross, whether that's the power shot, as I mentioned before, it's a perfect way just to slide in there in the last second because you're covering so much ground. And in the beta, I had a moment where my player was on a breakaway. He actually teed up a power shot. And in the last second, literally, I slid in kind of from behind with a hard tackle and got my foot on the ball. And it was immensely satisfying. And we're just expanding our range of controls and ways to defend. And that's the hard tackle.
Yeah, it's going to be satisfying on a last-ditch hard tackle when you know you save a goal. And it doesn't happen too often where you can celebrate those defensive wins, but I'm looking forward to pulling off a few of those in FCMobile.
Awesome.
But,
yeah, it's really satisfying. Like when we put it in, we also made sure that hard tackles generally, even for lower rated players, are still quite fast and responsive. So give it a try, take some getting used to. But again, it's also expanding the ways you can defend and separating the best players at the very top of head-to-head.
Exactly. It's going to come down to timing, obviously attributes of your players, but user skill. I just noticed playing in the beta, it was tough to pull off, but once you do pull it off, you kind of feel rewarded. So I think users will enjoy that. I can see some people already in the chat are mentioning different ways maybe they were going to use it, or at least seeing a few dubs in the chat. So that's always nice to see. But we do have a few more things as well on the gameplay side. It's not related to controls. This is going to be the new camera angles. So I think we can pull up our new camera angle here up on screen if we want to see it. And it's a lot more open. You can see a lot more on the pitch, a lot more flexibility with how you can tap if you're using gestures or even just setting up long passes across the field.
That's right. Now, with FCMobile, we're not only taking the gameplay to the next level, but also our visuals, you know, whether it's locker room and all these things like enhanced crowd and across the game. So on gameplay, we want to do the same thing. And I'm very excited for this, and it's the first time personally for myself working on cameras, and it was such a great experience. And the first one is the new gameplay camera. You can see here is camera number 5 in your camera, so you still have all the old cameras from the previous seasons, but this is the new one, and it's going to be on by default because it gives you that fresh new look. It looks modern, it looks broadcast, and also what you can see here, you can see in the far distance the crowd and the stands. And you can see that we actually have much bigger and more banners, more flags. So you now really feel the immersiveness of the stadium and the crowd. And because the camera is lower, it's also very gesture friendly. So if you're on the right side of the wing here, you can almost see perfectly across the field, easily making a gesture pass to switch the side of play. So for me personally, I can't go back to the old cameras. It just looks so modern and great, and it's just satisfying to play in this camera. So let's move on to the next section, which is set pieces. So we refreshed all of our set piece cameras. Now, this breaks down into kind of 2 areas. The first one is like the hero moment. So hero moment is like a penalty kick or a free kick. So here we're looking at the penalty kick, and you can see that the camera is much, much lower, much closer to the player. And really what we wanted to achieve is put you in the shoes of the kick taker. So you feel that intense moment with the goalkeeper, that pressure that you feel. You also now see more of the crowd in the background. So the flags are waving and you're in that moment. It feels really immersive, and that's what we wanted to achieve. We also added a bunch of new idle animations, actually, some star specific. So keep an eye out when you play the game and you have some star players. Maybe you'll see some unique idle animations as the player is about to kick the ball. Let's move on to the next one, which is the direct free kick. Also, we lowered the camera here closer to the player, and as you can see, the player wall is blocking more of the view of the goal. And this is intentional. We want to make the wall a bit more intimidating, a bit more of an obstacle, and put you into that moment when you take a free kick, as you do in real life. You kind of have that challenge in front of you. So when you score a free kick, it feels satisfying. And I do want to take the moment right here, which is very, very important to mention. Elite shooting expands to penalty kicks and free kicks as well. So we know that in the current game, it's very easy to score penalty kicks and free kicks, but now there will be a much bigger attribute effect, such as how much curl you can apply in a free kick, how fast the kicks are. And I think for the guys who played the beta, they know penalty kicks are not like 100% chance scoring anymore. Like, you have to be careful, you need to, carefully swipe. It's also based on attributes, how fast you swipe, where you swipe in the goal, so you actually feel the pressure of a penalty kick. And it's, again, both of these things lead to one thing: skill and satisfaction when scoring. Like, wow, I scored this free kick. And the camera really supports that immersion as well. So let's move on to the next clip. Oh, I should say image, which is our deep free kick or wide free kick. So in the current game, when you get into a deep free kick, the camera is quite narrow. It's really hard to see your teammates, and it's hard to make a pass. So you can see now, it's much more zoomed out. So these are more like tactical set pieces now, right? You can see the full width and length of the field. And also, we significantly improved the camera panning function. So these little arrows on the left and right, they're much more responsive now and faster when kind of rotating the camera, so you can quickly pick your teammate of choice. And let's move to the next image, which is the corner kick. You can see we're returning to a more traditional camera, but we want to keep it gesture friendly. So the camera is still quite elevated, so you're kind of looking down on the pitch, so it feels easy to make the gesture pass exactly where you want to tap and pass. But now it still puts you in the kick taker kind of view, which feels immersive. Again, you can see like the other side of the pitch, the banners, the crowd. It really adds again to the atmosphere and experience. And also, I want to mention that if you look at the top of the screen there, right left to the mentality bar, you see this like camera button in white. And this allows you to toggle between gameplay camera and set piece camera. So we understand some people might want to go back to a traditional gameplay camera. So we want to give you the choice. And what's cool, the game will remember per set piece which camera you prefer. So for example, corner kicks, you can stay in this immersive camera, but maybe in deep free kicks, you want to stay in gameplay camera. It allows you to do that. So let's move on to the last one, which is the goal kick. Now the goal kick also has undergone some changes. It looks a lot more like our console big brother, and more immersive. You see more of the stadium as well, the architecture, and it's really easy. You don't really have to pan the camera. You easily pick your pass wherever you want to, and puts a bit more focus as well on the goalkeeper, a bit closer into him. So yeah, these are awesome new cameras that help bring immersion to gameplay.
Yeah, those are all very refreshing changes, I think, to the way that matches are played, head-to-head is played. I think it just makes it more, there's more options for players to choose different camera angles. And then I just know personally, scoring a free kick is a lot more fun. And I noticed in the chat, some people are bringing up as penalties. If you played the beta, you notice penalties are not guaranteed. And I think that's a welcome change for a lot of people. So in the chat, let me know if you missed any penalties in the beta, or how good you were at penalties. Because I know I missed a few. I swiped my first few ones way over the net, and it took me a little bit of adjusting, but once you get the hang of it, Timo, right, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and just like in real life, let's say you're attempting to shoot top corner. Like, you're attempting it. You're stepping up to the plate, and you're like, I'm going to do it. Maybe you're going to miss. I'm not sure how good you are, but it's a high risk. You're trying to put it in the top corner. But if you shoot it low in the center, high chance of scoring. And that's what we wanted to represent. You're taking a risk. Of course, the higher the attribute of a player, the more chance you have to keep it on target, but it's not guaranteed. So a lot of things like how fast you swipe, where you swipe, your player, all these things factor in. But isn't it a great feeling when you actually score a penalty? Or maybe, oh, I think I swiped too fast. But it still goes and you're like, oh my God, yeah, satisfying. Like, it's just that moment that we wanted. And it's just like that in real life, taking a penalty shot, that pressure, that, and then that satisfaction of actually scoring. And also, I'm sure many people saw it. And if you haven't played the beta, one cool little thing is we added the move goalkeeper function in. So For the goalkeeper and penalty kicks, you can now move your keeper side to side. So it's a bit of a mind game, and you can better position the keeper. So it just adds to the experience of penalty kicks.
Totally agreed. I know it was funny going back to the current game after playing the beta and playing some head-to-head, and I conceded a penalty, and in my head I was like, okay, I've a chance, and then I realized I was like, oh, I'm back in here. I can't save him. So I think it'll be a nice wrinkle into just playing head-to-head, and if you've got a penalty in like the 90th minute and you're stepping up, and it's not a guarantee. You actually have to keep your cool. And I love that. It's a nice addition, and it's going to really make competitive gameplay feel a lot more competitive.
Yeah, and I'm sure people will move the keeper side to side, and put that pressure. Where you're going to shoot, it's that mind game, and that's exactly what I wanted. And it's just a joystick. It's such a small feature, but the impact is quite large in that moment. So I'm excited we have it for sure.
Totally agree. So we have a few more notes to get through here. I know at the start of the gameplay segment, a lot of people are asking about skill moves and skill move balancing. I know a lot of people right now in the game, lane change tends to be brought up a lot. Heel to heel at one point was kind of the go-to. So I know chat, if you guys are still here, is saying that there's been a few changes, some balancing, right, to skill moves. Timo, if you want to kind of walk us through what that'll mean on the new season.
Yes. So we know that skill moves are fun. We get it. But at the same time, as you saw throughout the show, we're putting a lot more emphasis on user skill, separating, the best players at the top. And skill moves are fun. So what we did is some balancing. So first of all, we adjusted the skill move speed based on a dynamic game speed. So they're kind of within line of the whole game speed itself. And the main change I would say that we did is to balance consecutive skill moves. So if you do your first skill move, it's still going to be quite effective, of course, based on attributes such as agility, ball control, right? But if you're attempting multiple skill moves in a row, like chaining them basically, one after the other, that will be not as effective anymore. So we made an emphasis to discourage users from doing that. You can do one skill move, but we also wanted to diversify the build-up play. Different ways to score. Use more passing, use the knock-on, use different ways, right? So use your regular dribble. So yeah, skill moves are still effective in some regard. We feel like it's well-balanced. We did a lot of testing internally, externally, in the beta, got the feedback. Of course, guys, please give us your feedback once we go live. Which skill moves still feel overpowered? Where do we need to do some balancing? Because I'm going to tell you guys, we've done a lot of testing. We feel very confident, but there might be some moves or some combos that still feel powerful. We want to hear that, and we have so much focus and dedication to balancing the game over the next couple of months once we launch. So please let us know. But yeah, skill moves definitely more balanced and encouraging, not the chaining. Hopefully that summarizes it well.
Exactly. I think a lot of people love using skill moves, and a well-placed skill move is always going to be a great part of build-up play. It's just when you, as you said, chaining like 5 lane changes back to back to back is, I think, what community has kind of brought up a lot. So that's great to hear. I'm looking forward to jumping in on day one, and I know everyone else in the chat is as well, and seeing how that works. Another one as well we saw in the chat come up often is around crossing, like goals from crossing. How will I defend them? Will my players jump? How is that looking for the new season?
Yes. Again, thank you for the feedback. There were some issues. We are aware of the cross spam that people abused in some ways, potentially even in head-to-head, and it kind of built a very one-dimensional gameplay. People just going down the wing and crossing. And, well, we've improved it. So we've done a few things. First of all, there was an issue where players wouldn't jump during a 2-player head-up battle. And that's very frustrating. We understand, like, you're a defender, you're pressing the clear button, the player doesn't jump, you get scored on. So we fixed that issue where the player doesn't jump. So that's taken care of. The next one is we improved the crossing situation. So just like shooting, passing will also see more effect on attributes. So if you attempt a cross under difficult circumstances, such as, let's say you're sprinting down the wing, the defender's behind you, push-pulling you, and you do like a 90-degree cross inside the box, you're not going to be that accurate. So you see this with like the accuracy won't be as good, or the height will be lower. Like you kind of not be as accurate basically in crossing. So again, we encourage you, put your player in a good position to cross. It will be more accurate. And as I mentioned before, with elite shooting, the headers also undergo that. So headers are not super fast anymore, and the attribute plays a bigger role, and your player positioning. So we feel it's quite balanced. Again, we want to hear your feedback. It's very important to us, but we feel it's significantly improved compared to the live game.
That's great to hear. I know as well, seeing in the comments, a lot of people are bringing up goalkeeper performance in the new season. If you had some notes on that, you could share, because that seemed to be a pretty common topic here. Just going through chat, people want to know what are goalies up to.
Absolutely. So first of all, we completely rebalanced the keeper in regards to elite shooting. So goalkeepers playing a very important role now, of course, but also for crosses. So we had cases where a cross would come in really close to the keeper. He would just stand there waiting, and we've improved the situation significantly. So keepers will be more active trying to intercept air balls like crosses and those things, and go for it to intercept it.
That's great. And that would also apply to corner kicks, with a goalie coming out on a corner, being able to come in and maybe punch the ball, grab the ball. I know people have been mentioning that, so that's great to hear.
Absolutely. Yes. We want to make sure that's kind of part of the whole crossing balancing. So it's the cross, it's the headers, it's the defensive side of things, how you can affect the player, as I showed earlier before with the 2-player header error, and the goalkeeper as well, just to be more active, get off the line, and go for those very obvious balls that are really close to him. We still have to make sure, though, the keeper is not too aggressive, because if he goes out and rushes and he can't get the ball, that's not something you want to do. So he will go he's more aggressive, but within line, I would say.
Makes sense. And I'm seeing a few people as well just in chat. We do have a bit of time for some questions. Are asking about the height of a goalie. That one seemed to have been coming up a bit here. Timo, if you have some info on what that looks like.
Yeah, the height of a keeper can play a role, but generally speaking, that's not a factor that we want to really, make. Like, for example, take a player like Casillas, right? He's not the tallest player. Like if you compare Casillas to Courtois, for example, right? But Casillas is one of the best keepers ever, and that's also reflected in FCMobile. So height can, in certain ways, in certain situations, maybe help you, but generally the smaller keepers are more agile and faster, right, to get off. But height is not as influential as people may think.
That makes sense. I know that Campos, I think, is one of the shorter goalkeepers in the game. I want to say he's 5'8", 5'9". Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. So that'll be interesting to test him out whenever he comes out in the new season. We do have some room here as well, chat, for a couple questions for Timo directly from the chat. Obviously, things that we can answer and speak to. So if you have anything that you want to ask the gameplay producer, the guy on the show here, drop it into chat. I'm also looking through Discord at the same time here. Because I'm
sorry if I went too fast. I tend to speak too fast. So if there was something I mentioned through the show, people like, what was he talking about? I can reiterate. I would gladly do that. And again, I just want to say I'm really proud of our team. We pushed really, really hard this year, and just excited to bring it to you guys. So I'm sure the first couple of months we'll go through maybe some balancing, some bug fixes still. And by the way, we've done tons of bug fixes as well, like legacy issues. And one thing I want to mention here is we really improved switching. I know there was some issues, like with the loose ball switch. So let's say you take a shot, right? And we should switch you to a teammate who's closer to the ball. We've improved that. Airball switching, like which player will be selected in those situations. So we've done tons and tons of improvements, as well as the attacking state, like you're on the wrong state. You want to be on defensive state, but you're still in attacking state. So we've done tons of improvements. Switching is complex though. It's hard to say for me, we fixed it. I think we improved it really well. If you find any cases where there's bad switching, send it our way, post it somewhere, Discord, Reddit, we'll see it.
Yep. I know just over the past couple of years, the switching's really improved from like making it feel a lot more responsive. And I know when I play head to head, I'm kind of switching by tapping on a lot of players as well. And I really like how quickly it responds to my tap in the direction. so you can kind of switch off ball and have a second player come in to pressure while you're keeping tabs on another attacker. So I know guys who are playing at the highest level, that's an important part of their defending skills. So looking through chat as well, I'm seeing a lot of questions here, chat, about the market, player stats. Those are all things that aren't exactly gameplay related, so can't really delve into those yet. But I'll leave a little bit more time at the end of the show here if you have like non-gameplay questions. But yeah, otherwise just seeing a lot of like regular like game related questions. I think there was one here. Let me just check. I'm just going through. There was a decent one here that was coming up. Someone is asking about corners. We did mention that. Around.
Also want to
well.
say that corner kicks are not 100% accurate. We also added a bit more error based on attribute for corner kick crosses. You will, of course, just in real life, you're trying to cross exactly to that point, but there's a bit of variance based on attribute as well.
That's great to hear. So it really matters who you have selected as your corner kick taker.
Yes,
you can't put
absolutely.
anyone there, and you want to be using the Trent Alexander-Arnolds of the world, the De Bruynes, the guys who can really whip it in.
Yeah, and another thing I wanted to mention is in terms of cameras, we talked about scoring amazing goals with like power shots or just satisfying goals with any shot type. We also significantly improved our replay cameras. You probably noticed that a little bit throughout the beta, and we've done more polishing and tuning on that. So you'll see throughout the game, but I do encourage you, if you play head-to-head and you score some nice goals, go into those post-match replays, and there's going to be like a nice 3-camera kind of reel of that goal, and there's going to be some nice effects and just cool angles. So check it out, and hopefully you'll share it on social media, in the forums. I think it's going to be, again, adding to that satisfying moment of scoring goals. You'll see it's going to be pretty special.
Agreed. And I see one as well that I think was mentioned was around the halftime and full-time referees calling the play. I think there's been a little bit of adjustments there to be a little more reflective of where
Yes.
play is headed.
Yes, so That's something we'll continue to improve. We already made improvements. We will continue to do that post-launch, but we have improved the end-of-half logic to blow the whistle at a more reasonable situation. But we'll continue to improve it.
That's great, yeah. And I saw a few people here as well. That kind of ties into our last little bit of the segment, which is celebrations, right, Timo? Everybody loves celebrations. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we want to stay up to date and stay with the trends. So we've added tons of new star-specific animations. Now, I don't want to share exactly who and how many, but we added quite a few. And I will say that Haaland not just has one, but multiple celebrations. So you'll see him throughout the year having some new celebrations, and very excited.
That's exciting. I know that it's always fun when you see a celebration pop up that you haven't seen before. I know there's some guys who could use some refreshed celebrations, so I'm sure community will appreciate it, and it'll be kind of fun when they pop up in game. So
yes, and listen,
yeah.
We're going to continue to push. We're going to continue to push with content in terms of celebrations, hopefully new skill moves throughout the season. So these are things we feel very passionate about, just like you guys. And I can tell you, FCMobile is a big step for us. Like, we're taking the gameplay really to a next level, building on a strong foundation, but we're just getting started. Like, we're putting a lot more into this franchise. And again, I've been doing this for 10 years, guys. 10 years, but never been more excited. And where the game is right now, just generally as a product, in the gameplay, it's so exciting. So the future looks very bright.
That's bright. That's a great way to kind of put a bow on it there, Timo. Very, very exciting, at least for the new season and what's to come. I know we're all going to be waiting to see what you and your team are sharing with the players. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Timo. It was great. So much valuable info, and very much appreciated.
Awesome. Thank you again. It's been a real pleasure. I know I've been here before, like with just a pre-recorded video or something. I know I've been talking to some of the people on Discord before. Again, really, thank you all for the support and feedback. We're building this together, And again, I hope you feel a lot of your feedback has been reflected in the features of FCMobile. And also, there's going to be a deep dive coming up with some more details. And we have more cool stuff to come throughout the year. I have to kind of bite my lip here, not to spoil anything, but yeah, exciting times. Thank you so much, everyone. Please enjoy this launch next week. Let us know your thoughts, and see you next time.
Great. Thanks, Timo. Take care. So that was Timo going through gameplay. What did we think, chat? A lot to digest there. As mentioned, there will be a deep dive coming out shortly with more information on everything we went through, as well as even some extra details we weren't able to cover. Overall, though, it's a lot coming to gameplay. It's going to feel very different, I think, on day one. So I'm looking forward to it. If you played the beta, you kind of have an expectation of how it's going to feel and some of the new controls. So overall, dubs in the chat, I agree. It's very good to see. So we're kind of getting close to that time of the show where chat tries to guess what is the giveaway keyword. So if you guys want to take a little shot here at the keyword before I unveil, we're going to be doing a choice of 2 Pioneer players. So you can choose between the 120 Holland or the 120 Bellingham from the Founders event. We'll make sure to grant those in time for the new season rollover. So you will have them in FCMobile as well at obviously a reduced OVR. So let's see if I see anyone with the right keyword here. It's related to gameplay. Let's see if you can guess it. Seen a couple ones, nothing really close. Think of one of the impact controls. Oh, someone got it. Someone got it. It's hashtag power shot is what we're going with for the keyword. So drop that in the chat if you want to be entered into our giveaway. We're going to be doing 5 giveaways. So 5 winners here will get their choice of Bellingham or Holland, 120 OVR, untradeable Pioneer players that will carry over into the new season. So quite a valuable player item there. And I know a lot of you will be trying to get that. So hashtag power shot. And while we wait for our first winner, I just wanted to go over some extra details here for the new season. Like I mentioned at the start of the show, it's September 26th where the new season launches. We'll have some details on exactly what time we go into maintenance earlier on the 25th. I'm obviously speaking in Pacific time. I'm in Vancouver here, but that'll differ. And we'll make sure to share based on time zones. So you know what time it is when you got to be around for FCMobile. Otherwise, we went over earlier, if you're coming a little bit later, is regions. We're going back to 1 global region. So very exciting news. You can now be in a league with anyone around the world. You can be friends with anyone around the world, play in friendlies, play division rivals, all the way versus attack, head-to-head manager mode. Leaderboard as well will be global, and the market as well will be global. So everything comes back to 1 global region. I'm really excited about it. I know I used to be in a league with a couple people who are in different parts of the world, so gonna maybe see about rekindling that league. And I know a lot of you have maybe already started sending out some feelers on trying to get some old leagues back together. I'm also excited for the way this is going to look for hosting some community head-to-head tournaments. That was always kind of a little bit of a tricky part, is having it region by region, but now you play against anyone, so that'll be fun. Also looking to do a stream sometime next week, more details to come for a launch stream. We'll go over some of the new content. We'll go over just the new game, explain a little bit of how training works, some of the new features there, rank ups, show off the market, which is pretty similar to the current market, just a few little changes. So yeah, got an exciting show next week. We do have our first winner though, before I get too carried away with talking about the new season. It's Daniel68 is our winner. So congrats, you get your choice of Bellingham or Holland. Again, it's hashtag power shot if you want to be entered. I see a lot of you dropping it in there. By the way, follow us on Twitch so that if you do win, you're able to contact us, or we can contact you via Whisper so we can get your information to transfer over this player before the new season starts. So make sure you drop a follow on our Twitch account right now if you aren't already doing so. We have our second winner coming up. I think this one's easy. It should be Jorginho96. So Jorginho96, you are the second winner. I haven't heard a lot from the actual Jorginho recently. I feel like what was it, a few years ago? He was like third in Ballon d'Or voting, wasn't it? After the Euros. And then after that, I think he moved on from Chelsea. But anywho, that's our second winner, Jorginho himself. So yeah, maybe you're playing at Arsenal right now. So yeah, hashtag PowerShot. Also, if you've already put in your hashtag for PowerShot, but you just have questions on the season, whether it's the rest of the season, the new season, I'll try my best to answer whatever's dropped in chat. Obviously, there's a lot of things I won't be able to answer just because we're holding that for launch, or we have a deep dive coming out soon, or it's just very specific info that I just don't have an answer for. So seeing one come in here, will the dynamic game speed gameplay adjustments stay for when stats get to a higher base? That's a good question. I think that's going to be the aim of the gameplay team, to make sure that these changes don't all of a sudden get overpowered when stats start getting higher and higher, because that's something I feel like we can see in other seasons is once the stats start climbing, some of these balances and adjustments maybe aren't as powerful as they once were. So I know that's being mentioned by the community. So that's probably something the gameplay team is working on. Would it be good actually to bring that up with Timo? But I'll chat with him as well, and we'll see if we can share some info around that in the gameplay deep dive. We have our third winner here coming up. Let's pull it up on screen. It is Nicholas BR. So you've won our third of 5 Pioneer giveaway players. So it's your choice of Bellingham or Holland. If you need a center mid to carry over at 120, pick Bellingham. If you need a striker, Holland at 120. Let's see. Will the bots in the market be back? No, I can confirm that the market will be similar to what we have right now. So it will not be the market from a few seasons ago. News on head-to-head disconnects. At the moment, it's going to be similar to what we currently have. So there's not going to be any changes there. However, that's been a topic I think that's come up with the gameplay team. I could have brought it up actually with Timo, but they've been chatting about how to approach that in the future, just because it's been brought up by the community about if someone quits in head-to-head or disconnects, how should that affect in a competitive head-to-head match? So I'm just going to say that they're having conversations about what that might look like. It's still very early though. We do have our fourth winner here. Let's pull it up on screen, and that is Young Supreme with a V. So fourth winner there. I'm going to pull up chat. If we have any other questions about the season, are Pioneer players tradable in the new season? No, they are not. So if you have a Pioneer player that transfers over from the current season to the new season, you can't sell them on the market. Is the first event a new one or an event that was in past seasons? It's a very good question. I don't want to shed too much light on that one, but it's a new event. It's like the season opening event. That's all I'll say. Don't want to take too much hype away from the start of the season, but no, there's some good looking players in there. We'll have some player banners to share, and some more information. Let's see. Do we have another question here? We actually have our fifth and final winner. So let's pull that up on screen. It is Leo Ziller. Leo Ziller, you are our fifth and final winner of our Pioneer player giveaway, untradeable Pioneer player giveaway, both in the current season and when it carries over to the new season. Let's see. Any other questions here? Did I pick up some leaks from the grocery store? I'm running a little bit low. I think I might need to do a little trip before the new season. Are there going to be women in the new season? No, currently there's no plans right now to have women in the new season of FCMobile. However, it's definitely being brought up. Let's see. Any other questions that I can get through here? How many Pioneers do I have on my team? I think I got 4 Pioneers. The best one I got a Skriniar out of the Founders Exchange. I was very happy since I was needing a new center back, and he actually does quite well. So got him, and then obviously got Mukoko, Enzo. I feel like I'm blanking on another one, so I'm only at 4. Let's see. What about, got any final questions, guys? We don't usually have a lot of time for Q&A here, especially with new season come along, but drop some in if you have some, and I'll see if I can get to as many as possible. Ask about, so looking right here, will store prices remain different based on region? I'll have to double check on that one, but given that the market is global, those should stay. Oh, you're talking about store, like in-store, like packs. Oh, that's a good question. Don't have details on that, actually. That's something we can follow up with, or see if we can share info on that. But at the moment, I do not have an answer. Chemistry system in the new season. More information on that to be coming in the training deep dive, which Jason is working on. Well, we're all working on it. Jason, though, seems to be putting that together. So we'll have that out for you guys as soon as we can, with information around chemistry and how to rank up and train your players. And then I'm seeing a few questions about Pioneer players transferring over. So Pioneer players will transfer it over as long as you don't consume them in like other players' trainings or in like exchanges, or if you just accidentally discard them on the market, or discard them from your player inventory. But you can train your Pioneer players. You could bring your 114 Mukoko up to a 119 and it's fine. So it's just, if you want to keep your Pioneer players carried over to FC Mobile to the new season, just don't have them consumed into another player or discarded. Otherwise they won't transfer over. And the other one as well is that duplicate Pioneer players will not carry over. Only one version will carry over. So if you have 3 Mukokos, 114 Mukokos, only one of those will show up in FC Mobile. So my recommendation would be, if you have duplicates, use them in the club points exchanges or use them anywhere else you see fit, because only one will carry over. Let's see, a last question here. I got time for one more question, and then after that we are going to be rating Wolvie, but are lane changes still OP? Timo kind of spoke to that. They're working on making sure that consecutive skill moves are not overpowered. So I expect a skill move by itself to still have some value based on obviously attributes such as agility and ball control and all the attributes that come into play there. But if you're chaining back to back to back lane changes, then no, it will not be as effective. And if you played the beta, you kind of got to look at what really the meta is for getting into space and how to create goals. And it's a lot of build-up play, a lot of passing. Obviously pace still matters, but it's not as impactful as I feel like it has been in the current season. Also, we have some cool news to share right now. I'm gonna drop the deep dive in chat right now. It actually just went live, the gameplay deep dive. So if you want to get a recap on what we went over with Timo today, we just have it went live right now. So we'll drop it in the chat. Thank you, FC Mobile Jason. If you want to check that out, it's live right now. We also will be posting the VOD of this live stream on YouTube. So check it out there in a little bit if you want to rewatch any part you may have missed. But overall, it's been a jam-packed show. It's been really cool to see all the new gameplay features and obviously celebrate the return of one global region. And with that, we're 1 week away from launch. Hopefully we'll have a stream next week to go through the new game with you guys. Overall, though, it's been a good stream. Really excited. Happy you guys are here supporting in chat. It was great answering some of your questions. If you have more, feel free to go into Discord, onto Reddit. We see a lot of those and we'll try to help where possible. Overall, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm going to sign off right now. Have a great rest of your day, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.